On this week's podcast, I am once again speaking with my friend William Rand about his article, Living a Successful Life. William has some really unique perspectives that I think will help us. And at the end of our podcast, he's going to lead us in a meditation to help each of us live our own version of a successful life, or what a successful life looks like to us. Thank you so much for being here, William.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's always nice to talk with you. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that I do have an Animal Reiki level 1 and 2 and masterclass coming up on Campobello in September. We will be going out to see the whales. They're really prolific in September. I'd just love to have you join us. That'll also be offered online in the Atlantic time zone. And in October, I have a full range of level 1 and 2 master Animal 1 and 2 Master Karuna Reiki classes, all happening here at the farm. And again, those will be online as well as in person in the Atlantic time zone. And next weekend, I'll be presenting at the Reiki retreat in Sedona, Arizona. I'm really excited about that. And I know I'll see you there, William. Yeah, what do you have going on in the next little bit, aside from the retreat?
I got a class coming up, a master class online. And then I'm going to be going to the Omega Institute. I'm the keynote speaker there. And I'll be presenting about Reiki. It's a Reiki conference. And of course, I'll talk about Reiki.
Yes.
And so I'm teaching also a Karuna class there at Omega also. So that's coming up in July. So that's my next big thing.
Yeah. And then what do you have? Because this podcast is actually going to go out after July.
Oh, yeah.
So I might.
Well, then, yes, that's a good point. Yeah. Then there's the Reiki retreat in Sedona. So
Yes.
we'll have that. So that's coming up. And then I'm going to be flying to Korea. I'm teaching in Korea. And then Taiwan, come back to Hawaii. And then we're going to have our 7-day Reiki class on Maui. And yeah, 7 days, and we half a day is spent in the classroom with the class material and everything. And then we're going to be going on hikes and excursions around the beautiful places where I live in Hana, which is out in the country. We're going to go to beaches and waterfalls and bamboo forest and wonderful places to go swimming and so forth. So it's going to be a combined kind of a event. And we're going to be having gourmet meals also for dinner, gourmet dinners prepared by a gourmet chef, local chef. That's all included.
That's
And it's going to be, yeah, co-taught with Colleen Benelli also. So we're both teaching. And when we go on the hikes, I'll be out at the front and she'll be at the back. So there's stragglers and people are looking at, smelling the flowers and everything. Yeah, we do that together. And so that'll be lots of fun. And yeah, the bamboo forest hike will be something.
And people get the two of you. That's
Oh, yeah,
the
both
amazing.
of us. That's right. And so I think Colleen's one of our top teachers and highly experienced and a strong background in shamanism. And she's clairvoyant. And,
I know.
So yeah, the whole thing. Yep.
She's my mentor. That's going to be amazing. And
that'll be in November. Yeah.
In November. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Oh, yeah. I hope people can join you there. And
yeah.
And I know I'll be seeing you, William. I'll be coming down for our licensed teacher retreat in January.
Right. Yes.
I'll look forward to doing the hikes with you then. And yeah, I can't quite keep up with you hiking, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, I guess I'm a fast person. And Colleen comes along and in the back and make sure nobody gets lost. If she keeps track of everybody, because people will go off the trail sometimes, and we don't want anyone to. Of course, you just come back to the trail and you just follow that to go back down. But anyway, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be meditating in the bamboo forest. So in that one, there's this huge bamboo forest. The bamboo is like 50 feet tall, and it's really dense. And we we take people off and we drop them at specific spots in the bamboo. And all you can see is the bamboo around you. And then we meditate, and then they come and then after that, we do no talking after that. So I come, and then people see me and they get up, and then we walk up to the waterfall. It's a 400-foot waterfall. And so we go up there in silence. And because we're in silence in the meditation, it's like an extension, and we walk up the path to the waterfall. So,
I've done that with you, William, and it's a fantastic experience. Very, I don't know, very introspective, very enlightening, and very powerful. So it's, yeah, if anybody listening decides they'd like to join William and Colleen in Hana, it's definitely worth it. It's fantastic. Yeah, thank you, William.
oh, you're welcome. Mhm.
Yeah. Before we get too far in, I'm just going to invite everybody to bring your hands together in Gasho for a moment and just activate your Reiki energy and your Reiki symbols. And as you do, just consider, what does living a successful life look like to you? There's a version of what a successful life should look like, but that doesn't always align with our authentic selves. So as we listen to William's advice and wisdom today, just invite Reiki energy to release any expectations or ideas that are culturally created or that are not yours, that are maybe imposed upon you. And just really consider releasing those today and being open to living your most successful life. Thank you for being here with us today and for the light that you are in the world. Aho. Namaste. Well, William, I just loved this article you wrote in the
Oh,
spring issue of the Reiki News magazine. And I've got a copy of the article. We'll put it in the podcast notes if anybody wants to check it out. But one of the things that you mentioned in the article, and I love this, and I've heard you say this before, that we manifest not only our good experiences, but also our bad ones. How does understanding that, how does that perspective help us on our journey to success?
yeah, one of the problems that some people have is they blame other people for the problems that they have. They take credit for the good things,
Yep.
but then when something happens that they don't like, then they often, not everybody does it, but
Mhm.
often they start blaming people. And they sometimes it goes, oh, if I only had different parents. My parents screwed me over and they were bad parents. And if I only had different parents, my life would be so much better. And that's why I have these problems and everything. And or they blame their teachers at school or their boss at work or experiences that they had in life that were detrimental and someone took advantage of them or something happened. And then they say, if only these things hadn't happened, then my life would have been much better. But what we find that happens when you do that is you actually are giving away your power. And so when you blame others, you actually are giving them some of your power. And you're saying, this person had power over me. There's nothing I can do about it. I just have to deal with the problems that came up from it. And it's not my fault. It's my parents' fault or my employer or somebody that did something horrible to me in the past or something like that. And so when you do that, you're actually giving up your power. And then it makes it much more difficult for you to ever fix that problem or even fix it at all. By owning everything that you are experiencing, then you pull your power back. And so one way to think about that is actually, I was involved in past life regression therapy. I was a past life regression therapist for about 10 years. And prior to that was a hypnotherapist. And so I have a long amount of experience in hypnosis, guided meditation, past life regression therapy. And one of the things that we found is that in going back into past lives, it's also to go back into the time in between lifetimes and see
Mhm.
what happened there, because some interesting things were going on there too. And what we find is that prior to being born into this life, you were offered and shown a number of different lifetimes that you could experience and choose from. And so you were shown what each lifetime would be about and the strengths and the valuable and beneficial things that would happen, and also the difficulties. And you were shown what you would learn from having those difficulties in your life.
Mm.
And so you were shown that by having difficulties, often there's new talents and skills and abilities you need to develop to work through them. And in that way, you become a better person. And so before a person was born, they saw this lifetime they're in now. And they knew that they were going to experience the difficulties and also the positive things that they were going to experience. And they chose this life. So people actually chose the life they're living now. You chose your parents. You chose all the problems that might have come up with your parents. You chose the teachers, and the basic lifetime you're living now, you knew in advance you were going to experience it, and you chose it. If you want to go back to your soul level in looking at this life, then you need to accept that you chose everything that ever happened to you. So often, when I first started contemplating that, it was emotional that I blamed people for things, and actually, I'm the one that chose to be with my parents or to have those experiences. And so you can't really blame anybody else. And so the most powerful thing you can do in living your life is to accept 100% responsibility for every single thing that's ever happened to you. And by doing that, you pull back your power. Because as I was saying, when you blame people, you take some of your power and you give it to the people you're blaming.
You
And
even
so,
mentioned blaming politicians, William, and you know that Reiki is guiding me into politics in the near future. And I've worked with politicians, and I never thought of that perspective. Like anybody we blame for anything, it's like it moves us into a victim mentality. I call it the blame game. And yeah, I'm sorry if I interrupted your stream. I find this so fascinating.
yeah, and when people don't realize this, they say, oh, it's not my fault. It's my parents' fault. Or
Mm,
like you're saying, the politicians screwed
yes.
me over that if they did, oh man, or my teachers or some person that was in your life and caused problems for you. You're someone that you married and got a divorce or
Right.
something like that. And so you blame people, and then you feel like, oh, it's not my fault. I didn't make it. And if only I hadn't married that person, if only I hadn't gotten this job, if only I had different parents, then my life would be better. And you're stuck in the problems that you have. But when you take 100% responsibility for every single thing that ever happened to you, and it's not easy to do. For
No.
me, I had to think about that for quite a while to gradually work into that to actually accept everything. But when you do it, it becomes much easier to solve your problems.
Mm.
Because as long as you blame others for them, you say, it's not my fault. I just got these problems and they're there. But when you say, I chose this life because to solve the problems that I have occurred in my life, I need to develop certain qualities of character and certain skills to solve them. And that's how you become a better person. So the soul evolves, not just with all the beneficial and good things and happy things that happen for you, but also all the problems that come up that you have to deal with and solve. And so that's why you're here. You came
Mhm.
here for those problems to encounter them and then figure out how to solve them. And in that way, you evolve and grow. So when you can accept it, then suddenly it opens up and you find it much easier to deal with the fact that those problems are there and then to solve them.
And it occurs to me, William, that it can be an evolution, because I know I decided a long time ago that I understood what you're saying about I chose these things, the difficulties that I experienced, and I learned and grew from them. And I counsel or coach my clients with Reiki to do the same thing. And I've actually had clients say, I'm so glad that I had this cancer. It taught me so much. I'm so glad that. And one thing that I'm realizing, because I sometimes struggle with knee health, and everybody in my family has always had problems with knees and needed knee replacements and things. And I'm determined that I'm going to be the first one not to need a knee replacement.
Oh, yeah, great.
But
Yeah.
that's another way of doing that same thing, is everybody in my family has that. Of course I have that. That's another way of blaming, in a way, isn't it?
I suppose so. And of course, with Reiki, has this tremendous power to heal and to help you solve problems. Yeah, you've got
Mhm.
that tool.
I
And
do.
so you can apply it for that issue and, work through it.
I love that. And one of the things, like, how do you think that blame game impacts our lives and impacts our path to success? Like, how do you feel it gets in the way?
It holds us back. It keeps us in place.
Mm,
And so we'd stay in the same position that we were in, like when we were born in the family and so forth. So it tends to make it more difficult for you to go forward and discover your life purpose and fulfill it. Society has a set of values, and the family has family values.
yeah.
And there are actually ancestral spirits that are holding those family values in place. And it becomes more difficult to move outside of family values. So now sometimes families have good values, and then sometimes they don't. But often one of the values they have has to do with income, and it's like there's an unspoken understanding that our family can earn this much money, but if we go up further, double that or something, that's way out of bounds for us. Nobody in our family could ever earn that much money. Yeah, so we're held in place by family values and also by the tradition of the family. And then, like, our family does this, but we don't do that. And yeah, so we identify with the family. Now, of course, some people are trying to get out of that, and Reiki is one way to help you do that. But ancestor worship is actually part of shamanism, some types of shamanism. And that's good if your ancestors were good, were beneficial. But sometimes they weren't, or they have limits to what they were doing. And I think we can benefit from the strengths and qualities of character our ancestors have had, but I think we need to allow ourselves to go beyond that, because, in fact, we may be coming into this life with values and with a purpose that goes beyond what the family feels is appropriate. And you might be doing something that's different than that. Of course, in the 60s, we grew up as the baby boom generation, the hippies and everything, that we were like going against that
Yes.
and trying to get out of that. So that was one of the values of that the baby boomers grew up with. But so that does help us to get around that, and then also to break through society, the things in society that really aren't appropriate or healthy for us as individuals.
Yeah, we can go beyond all of it. And that's been showing up for me quite a lot with my sessions lately with my clients, is these ancestral patterns, or even injuries that are coming forward through and the ancestral lineage that seem to need to be healed. So I really appreciate you going down that road with us. And so some of this, I think what are some of the strategies? First of all, like, you mentioned it took you a long time, like, to really grapple with, I am 100% responsible. And I'm hoping you can bring that into our meditation at the end, just to help us with Reiki to really allow that to sink in to our psyche and our being. Did it take, you said it took a while. How long did it take you to really embrace that idea and maybe
Well,
process
yeah,
some of the areas that were holding you back?
this is a realization that I just recently came to and actually was able to apply.
Mhm.
And because part of the baby boom generation is to actually blame the government, blame your parents, and like that. And we like it's say we would say we're smart because we know where the problems are coming from. We know who caused them. It's our parents and it's our government and all that stuff.
Right.
And they're the ones that are causing us all these problems. We're smart because we know who to blame. And that's like a feeling of superiority because we're not just going along with everybody and doing everything everyone else is doing, but we were breaking out of that mold. But then I realized there's a step beyond that too, is to actually accept that I chose this life and I chose the parents I have. And we can go beyond that level of blame and then heal much more deeply.
Yeah. And so it does, it probably happens as most Reiki healing happens in layers. But I think that one of the things that does is breaks us out of that conditioning of blame and the victim mentality. And it's interesting because in so many places in my life, I had said, yeah, I'm not a victim. But the one place I was so glad you said politicians. We sometimes blame politicians because I went, oh, yeah, sometimes I do that. And realize that, wait,
Yeah.
you're about to be a politician. You're going to do your best. And yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are some strategies that you suggest for moving through this and then exploring unexplored or underdeveloped talents? Like you talked about that in your article, that when you can get past that, you've sometimes got these underdeveloped talents that are there, waiting to be discovered, and that this can enhance our life's success. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So we come into this life with a purpose, and we know about it very clearly before we're born, and we choose this life, and that's our purpose that we want to fulfill. But then, as little babies and small children, we start to look at our parents, and we want to be like them. We see, oh, they can walk. Then the baby eventually wants to try walking, and pretty soon they can walk. And then they start to talk, and then they start to pick up the values that the parents have too. And it's that, and then they start learning more about society and what's cool, what isn't cool, what's acceptable, who people look up to. And especially, I don't know, maybe even teenagers are much more into that possibly. And being like your peers and accepted by your peer group and all that. But then what happens is that can get in the way of our life purpose. So our life purpose is something unique to us, that it has to do with our innate values. And so as we grow up, we start to become enculturated, meaning that we start to adapt the cultural values of the society we live in. And it starts with our parents and our relatives. And then if we start associating with others, we go, oh, there's other things we go to school and there's other values out there too. And so we start to adapt those when actually there can be a purpose that's different, that has a different value system than what society has. And so one of the things that people associate success with is being successful within our society and gaining the admiration of society. And so society often will value education, income, and material possessions, and then social status.
Yeah.
And so what happens is ambitious, smart, successful people, they rise up the corporate ladder, so to speak, or they rise up in society and they end up with all of these things that are supposed to mean success. And they do mean success in the eyes of society, but they realize there's some part of themselves that isn't being fulfilled. And there's an aching and it just doesn't feel, there's something missing. And so what you need to do is go back when you were quite young and then start to be more aware of what is it you want to do with your life, and start to tune in to the life purpose that you chose before you were born. And what's that all about? And it often has to do with your own personal values that may have not gotten fully expressed. And you had to conform to your parents, your relatives, and of course, they're always telling you what to do. And there's a certain admiration you're looking for and acceptance in the family, and that feels good. And then acceptance by society. There can be values that are very important to you that aren't necessarily endorsed by society. You have to be willing to go against that and have some people think that you're a little off or
Mhm,
strange or
mhm,
why are you doing that? And yet it's what you want to do. Like I'm saying, sometimes there's a conflict between what your real inner desires are for your life and what society says is appropriate for you to do. And also your friends, so your peers. So you might have a group of friends that are endorsing a certain type of lifestyle. And so you want to look good to your friends. And so you go along with that. But there could be some deeper values there that are unique to you that you need to uncover, look at, meditate with, and then decide, do you want to achieve these values and work from these values and achieve these other goals that may not receive all of the admiration from the people around you, but they're right for you.
yeah.
And in fact, I think when people start doing Reiki, sometimes they get that. What is this Reiki, weird Reiki stuff? Why are you doing that anyway? So that
Yep.
that was yeah, that was much more true in the past when Reiki wasn't quite as acceptable. But now more people are learning about it and it's more acceptable. But there's still can be some resistance. And they say, "Can you mean you can earn money doing that? What? How do you do that?" you know, or whatever. And so, yeah, society has a narrow view of success, and sometimes your relatives and parents. And so we have to go against that and tune into our own inner values and desire and focus on that. And then we don't have that gnawing feeling like something is missing. Then it's yes, I feel fulfilled. I feel my life is going exactly the way I want it to go. And I feel very happy with my life.
William, before I learned Reiki, I was a vice president of a company, six-figure salary, just all of it,
Yeah.
and had all of the trappings of success, the education, all of it. And I had that feeling
Oh,
like, wait, I thought I was going to be fulfilled or happy when I was here, and I wasn't. And yet, Reiki and doing what I do now brings me so much more fulfillment and happiness. And it occurs to me that one of the aspects of or one of the properties of the holy fire Reiki is that it does align us with our life purpose. And I know that I'm thankful to you, to that energy, because it really has aligned me with my life purpose. My life purpose is this: helping people with Reiki each and every day. And I'm so grateful that I get to do it.
yeah. Wow. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. You used a word that I really liked, William, in your article. I hadn't seen it before, or it was unresolved discontent. And I wonder if
Uh,
you
yeah.
could elaborate a little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
on the
Yeah.
concept.
I think what I was saying was unresolved emotional distress.
Okay,
Yeah. Unresolved emotional distress.
emotional
So,
distress.
yeah, in our society, what happens is society in general doesn't know a lot about healing.
Hmm.
And so if a little child is crying, the child is often allowed to cry. But
Hmm.
as the child gets a little older and they start crying, they say, "Oh, be good, be a good girl, be a good boy, stop crying." And so then the parents don't tell the child what to do with these unhealthy, unwanted feelings, sadness or anger or fear. They just says, "Don't do that, stop that, be good." So then the child at first doesn't understand it, but eventually they start to think, "Oh, you know what? I think I can shove some of that feeling down." And they do it. And then they go, "Oh, a good girl." They get, "Good girl, good boy. Oh, you're so good. You stopped crying. Oh, that's so good." So they shove their sadness down inside and then they're good. So that's the formula for being good and accepted is take your feelings that society, that your parents don't like, and push them down inside and hold them there until they go, quote, go away, and then you're good. And so you get the pat on the head, oh, good girl, good boy, and all that. You did that. You stopped crying, or you stopped that temper tantrum, or you're not angry, or something like that. And then people learn to take their feelings, and the healing, quote, healing method is you deny them and you push them down inside and hold them there. And that's how you become big. Because little children want to be big. And so that's how you become noted as, oh, good girl, big boy. Oh, so good. You're able to deal with that. And so that can happen. And so we end up with all of these unresolved emotional issues. So we take that emotion, push it down until finally it's just down there and we don't have to do anything because there's a automatic process that holds it in place.
Mhm.
And what we call in Holy Fire Reiki, we call that the dormant self.
Yeah.
And it went dormant, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it's dormant only in terms of being part of your conscious experience, but it actually is absorbed into your body language. It makes you more rigid in certain ways, and your mannerisms and way of speaking are affected by it, and your goals and your outlook on life is also limited by the fact that you have these unresolved emotional issues that are stuck. And it also reduces the range of your emotional experience.
Mhm.
If there's one thing in life that gives life meaning, it's feelings. You can be all in your head and look at numbers and say, oh, our numbers are all good and everything. But without any feeling, it lacks meaning. Feelings give meaning to life. And so if your emotional range is getting smaller and smaller, it means that life is less meaningful.
Mhm.
And so little children, look at how, when you look at little children playing and how excited they get and happy and all that, they have quite a wide emotional range and a lot of joy and happiness. But then as they grow up, that starts to get cut off as they use that process of stuffing their feelings so they will be like an adult or act like a big girl, a big boy. Then we have this unresolved emotional distress that actually, like I say, it affects our body language, it affects what we think we can achieve in life, and it affects how happy and content we can be. By working with Reiki to heal the unresolved emotions, then our emotional range expands. And then we can have more meaning to our life, more enjoyment and happiness and so forth. We're meant to have a full level of emotions. And the Reiki helps us to heal our feelings, especially on second level, we have that mental emotional symbol.
That was a game
And
changer for me, William.
yeah,
Mm.
uh-huh. Yeah, that's something to think about that actually we can uncover and heal things that have been placed in the dormant phase. And then as that happens, they actually expand your emotional range
Yeah.
and also they give life more meaning. So
I
your
really
life can become
never
more meaningful.
thought of it in those terms before. I'm really glad that you explained it that way. That's super meaningful to me, and
Yeah,
it makes so much sense. And can you expand just a little bit more on like past life issues and how they impact and shape our present and our future, and how addressing them can help us step into more success as well?
sure. Yeah, like I said, I was a past life regression therapist. I took people back to past lives and I did it for therapeutic purposes. So if a person has an issue in this lifetime, often, not always, but often it is coming from something that happened in a past life.
Mhm.
And so I would regress them back and I would say, we're going to go back to the original cause of this issue, whether it's in this lifetime or a past life. No matter where it is, we're going to go back to the original cause. And so then we would go all the way back and I would go through a series of questions. We would find out, are they male or female? Because we do change gender in past lives. And are they indoors or outdoors? What does it look like where they're at? And we start to zero in and they start to become embodied in that lifetime. And then we go through and then eventually we go right to what, the original cause of the issue. And then because I'm there, I can help them resolve it
Mhm.
because I'm guiding them. And we actually have something that a C DVD. CD where you can actually,
There's a CD and now it live streams. So
yes,
I used to recommend that people get your CD kit. I love your past life meditation.
yeah,
I love all of them,
yeah.
but I've used the past life meditation so many times. And now I believe people can also, because not everybody has a DVD or CD player anymore. Now I believe you can order them as an MP3 live stream.
Yeah, you
So
can live stream it. So yeah, we have past life regression therapy,
mhm,
and I organized the whole process so that it's safe.
mhm,
And for instance, you're given the ability to come out of the experience anytime you want. If something's uncomfortable or you don't like it, you come out. But it's all focused on being therapeutic so that you can go back to the original cause. And I ask questions, and then the answers come into your mind. And I do it in such a way that I can guide you through it. And you
mhm,
have the power to come out anytime you want in a very healthy way. You can just return to present time if you want.
mhm,
It's safe and it's effective. Yeah, and so I did that for 10 years, and then I started to go into many other things and eventually Reiki. And so I did create that. It's now live streaming, and you can use that to go back to the original cause of an issue and discover what you did, what other people did, and how that resulted in the problem you have now. And then you get to solve it right at the core where it was originally created. And so what happens is when we come into this lifetime, we often bring in issues, talents, and abilities, but also issues from past lives. And a lot of times people will have skills that they very easily are able to express, and they find areas of life that they're naturally attracted to and things they can easily do and things they enjoy. And those things are things that you enjoyed and developed in past lives. So the things that are naturally part of your personality are actually coming in as part of who you were in a past life. And then any difficulties or problems are also coming in from past lives. And so you choose, actually, when you're choosing this life, often there's a combination of different lifetimes that you're working with that you're going to bring into this lifetime to be part of your personality and the strengths and also the weaknesses that you're experiencing.
so interesting. And I know toward the conclusion, you talk about being 100% responsible. And you talked about the fact that we chose the difficulties we've experienced. And while that makes sense on an intellectual level, if somebody has experienced a very difficult life, this can be difficult to accept that you might have chosen those difficulties. You talk about how it might even make us feel emotional thinking it or reading it or hearing it. What advice do you have for somebody who's just saying, maybe bracing against that and saying, there's no way I would have chosen this. There's no way. What
Yeah, that I think that's normal.
Mm,
And I know I felt that way too.
mm,
And I think that the person just isn't ready to do that.
okay.
But having that idea in your mind as you heal and heal, eventually you can get to a place where you can accept 100% that you chose everything you experience in this life. Because what my thought pattern was, I can understand why I would choose the good things, but why on earth would anybody? And this was a
Yes,
question of mine, why would anybody choose the bad things? How could
right.
that work? I couldn't, that was a question that wasn't answered. But then I went more deeply into it. And this was only a few years ago that I started to realize, oh, I see. So you chose these difficulties to help you grow as a person.
Yeah. And as a
And
soul, to help your soul grow, I
yeah,
think.
and that when you stop blaming, then you can actually learn the lesson more easily. And so if a person has trouble doing that, from my perspective, probably they just aren't ready and to do that. And they need to heal a little more completely using other methods. And that at some point, from my perspective now, I would say you're making a lot of progress
Yes.
when you can accept 100%. And it's hard to do at first, but then you just say the phrase and then you say it over and over.
And that leads us right into my next question for you, William, which is that phrase. And you put that phrase in the article. It's so powerful. I am 100% responsible for everything that has ever happened to me. How do you feel that embracing this statement can change our perspective on success and our ability to reach it?
Like I say, when you can actually do that, then it becomes much easier to solve the problems. Because if you're blaming someone else, you say, how can I undo that? Yeah. And so it's difficult. But when you say, oh, I chose this, then you go into, why did I choose it? And like I say, it can be pretty emotional when you start to realize, oh, I was blaming my parents. And if I only had different parents, now I see, oh, I chose them. And that's a really big step. And it, like I say, it can be pretty emotional. You
Yeah.
start to realize, oh, I chose these parents. Did I really? Did I? Oh, wow. And so that, and then you realize, oh, because that it creates this problem, that then by solving it, you develop character in your personality and you develop strength. And then also you can more easily accept other people that have problems and you can help them too. And you can have compassion for people and when that takes place.
I love that. Is there any other thoughts you'd like to leave us with, William, before I ask if you'll lead us in a meditation to embrace that phrase, I am 100% responsible for everything that has ever happened to me? Is there anything else you want to say prior to that?
Like I say, some people aren't ready to say it. That's okay. And they might not even believe what I'm saying. And that's okay too. But because I'm saying it, it does get into your memory and you say, oh, maybe what William was saying, maybe I'm starting to understand that a little better. Like I say, I've been in the healing thing for business for a long time, and only recently did I get it. And then I come across a lot of people that are where I used to be, and then I'm able to more gently explain to them the value of this
Mhm.
and try it out. See how that, if you just give it a try, because people have had difficult lives and they say, oh, if I just didn't have this difficult life, why on earth, how could that happen to me? Why? Oh, gee, if when, and then, but if you say, you start to go to, I chose it,
Yeah.
that's a really big step. And then that's emotional because I chose it. I can't blame my parents anymore. And so it's sad. It's like opening up, there's a place in your psyche that needs to heal, and finally it can heal. And then you become, I would say, my version of an adult.
I think
You accept your whole life. You stop blaming and you accept your whole life as you chose it. And then you can live it. What happens is you're giving your power away by blaming. All that power comes back. And
Mhm.
then you go, wow, now I can do something about this. I can change it. Yeah, so it's a big step. And not everyone's ready to do that. And in fact, they get together with other people that are blaming, they're blaming the government, they're blaming something they associate with other people who have the same kind of blame patterns.
Yeah.
And they agree with each other. And that, yes, of course, that's the problem. And that's why we're not doing so well with our lives because of blah, blah, blah. The government, my parents, whatever, and authority figures and all that. They're bad, they're wrong, they're horrible. But they don't go anywhere. It doesn't help them to blame. Nothing gets better because they blame. They just say, we're stuck here and we know why because of blah, 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 blah. And we are wise because we know this. This is where we have this wisdom because we know who to blame. And
No.
we know the secret blaming thing that we have, and that's why we're smart. And so that holds that in place with that thought of being superior because we know who to blame. But if you go beyond that and accept that you actually chose this life, then it starts to break that up and you can actually heal the problems that aren't going healed because of blame.
You've really opened my eyes up to because I had worked through blame and victim mentality in so many areas, but I still sometimes I get frustrated with like large corporations because of the way that they do things, or with governments or taxes. And I realize that's just a further blame. That's just a giving
Yeah.
away of power. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's really opened my eyes up, William. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad that was helpful. Yeah, it's just that this is a problem. Now, how do I deal with it?
How do I deal with it?
Instead of
And I
saying
love
blah,
it.
blah, blah, blah. So how do I deal with this? I accept I have this problem. How do
Yeah.
I deal with it? And yeah,
William, one of the things I'm thinking that we could suggest to the listeners is maybe you're not 100% ready to, maybe you're not ready to say, I am 100% responsible for everything that's happened to me yet. And if you're not, maybe you could go into this meditation mentally saying, I'm 90% responsible, knowing that you're working toward being able to say you're 100%. I don't know if that would work or not, but I'm
yeah, or at
thinking
least
that
I'm considering the possibility.
I love.
And yeah, and like I say, not we have to heal, and then we get to the point where we can do that. We can say, I am 100% responsible for everything that's ever happened to me. And that's you surrender that blame and let go of it. And then you're in a position of power and you can actually solve your problems completely and live your life as a free person and not being held in check by these past experiences, that the unresolved emotional distress.
I absolutely love that. I love that thought of surrendering the blame. And yeah, would you consider leading us in a brief meditation today, William, to just get us started on that
Sure.
journey? Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to do a meditation. Now, this is this will be about knowing and achieving your life purpose. So a little different than that, but it'll also include what you mentioned, Pam.
Thank
Let's
you.
take a couple of deep breaths. You could be seated or you could lay down or any way that you want to be comfortable. You can even move and change your position during the meditation. And take a couple of deep breaths and close your eyes. Allow yourself to relax. And if you do have Reiki, just you can place your hands on yourself and allow the Reiki energy to start flowing. And just express your gratitude for Reiki as it flows through you and around you, allowing you to enter this wonderful place of glowing radiance. The Reiki energy flows through you, blesses you, heals you, helps you to relax more deeply. And we're going to be going to a place and becoming connected to a part of ourselves that is called the authentic self. And the authentic self already is completely enlightened. It's completely enlightened right now. It's a part of who you are. And the authentic self contains within it everything you need to live a powerful, successful life. And we're going to go back also in time, maybe when you were a child, thinking about life. What kind of plans were you thinking for yourself? What did you want to accomplish with your life when you were younger? And just allow those ideas to come into your mind. And also, even now, is there anything in your life that you'd really like to do, but something's held you back? If you could do anything at all with your life, what would it be? And just allow those ideas to come up into your mind. And we call on the power of the Reiki energy to flow through you and around you and become even stronger now. And this wonderful energy is beginning to guide your experience now. And I'm actually going to stop talking so you can be with yourself and be with your own experience. And in a little while, a few minutes or so, I'll bring you back. But just I'm going to stop talking now. Just allow you to have your own private experience. And in a moment, I'm going to bring you back. But even as you return, this process will continue to function and operate inside of you. So throughout the rest of the day, you're staring out the window or just walking along in silence somewhere, additional ideas will come up into your mind, and you'll gain an even clearer understanding of your purpose and also the ability to let go of any blame, take responsibility for your life, and pull back all of your power. So I'm going to count up from 10 to 1, and as I'm counting slowly, you'll return. 1, 2, 3. Feel yourself returning now. 4, 5, 6. Coming back. 7, 8, 9. Almost back now. And 10. And slowly open your eyes and return. And then take some time to write down your experiences.
William, I don't know where I go when I'm in your meditations, but they go deep. And thank you so much for that. I loved this topic. I hope that it's of help to our listeners. And I appreciate the listeners and I appreciate you, William. Thank you for all the Reiki and all the love that you're spreading on the planet. I think it's truly raising the vibration. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being here with us today. Namaste.
Namaste.